More like John Klingberg. Am I right?
Oof, that's not good.
I have never been less.
Klingberg, because he's making a lot of money.
I've never been less in the mood to joke about
John
this.
Klingberg.
Sportsinteraction.com/SDPN.
Get in on the action with Sports Interaction. Okay.
Right.
Hey, the Leafs got in on the action. We've been asking them to do it. But a lot of people are saying, not like that. Not like that. Please don't do that. Now, listen, John Klingberg brings one thing, and it's offense. And the Leafs did need puck-moving defensemen because I think that the last Leafs regime, which is still mostly in place, believed that they had that with players like Justin Hall. They didn't. So they need that. But the problem here is that John Klingberg's defense, relatively speaking, over the last few years, has been so bad that the offense can't outstrip what the defense, takes away. And so, and here's the thing: you got to remember with John Klingberg's stats too, he was on a lifeless, emotionless, boneless, brainless,
piece of poo,
crappy, terrible Ducks team.
Only for part of the season.
Okay. And he was okay in Minnesota.
And then he went to Minnesota and he was all right.
In a good system.
Mm-hmm.
In a good system.
Now,
the Leafs defense has gotten better.
Anytime you can get a guy who had a defenseman who had 42 points in 70 games, even if he's bad at defense, you got to lock him up to $4 million. Oh, sorry. Those were Eric Gustafsson's numbers. John Klingberg had 33 points, 9 fewer points than Eric Gustafsson in 67 games. And both guys were traded.
No.
Eric Gustafsson went off in Washington.
Yep.
The Leafs woke him up. He had no goals. They allowed him to get a hat trick, and he went off.
Can I also ask what's wrong with Timothy Liljegren?
What's wrong with Timothy Liljegren is he decidedly lost his job to Justin Hall at the end of the season, and there was no logical argument against it. He was terrible.
He was bad. But he won't be bad
So
forever.
he doesn't deserve this shot that Klingberg's going to get.
No.
Okay. That's fair. Okay.
And I say
I'm asking the question.
I say that as someone who, probably as late as March last year, said Liljegren was the Leafs' best right-handed defender because he was. It was him, Justin Hall, Connor Timmins. That was the race. What about TJ Brodie? Shoots left, plays right, shoots left. He was playing a lot of left last season. So Liljegren, was briefly their number one right-handed defenseman. Mm-hmm. He's now knocked down to number 2. That right side is still a world of hurt. Now, though, Riley Brodie, we talked about this earlier. Riley Brodie, McCabe Klingberg, Giordano Liljegren.
You got it wrong. Riley Klingberg, all offense. Let's go. Let the horses out of the cage.
You might be right. Defense pair. That'd be great.
They love having Brodie play on the left.
Yep.
Brodie can play either side, but
or with Jake McCabe.
Or with McCabe on they're not the biggest fan of Riley Brodie. So I don't know. I think Riley Klingberg will get a shot here.
So I don't want to judge too harshly because, Brad Treliving identified the defense as something he wanted to change up. And I don't think signing John Klingberg and William Lagesson was that. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I can't help but look at this team on paper and think this stinks. Here's the closest thing the Leafs have had to John Klingberg in recent years. And it super didn't work. Tyson Barrie. So that dynamic where they literally, out of the kindness of their hearts, put Barrie on the top power play when Sheldon Keefe got in there to help him get his mojo back. That was the only time Barrie was useful at all. He wasn't good defensively. In what universe is John Klingberg going to play second power play? What % of his career has he been on the second power play?
When he was productive, almost none.
And you got Morgan Riley making 7.5.
This is the thing. We saw this with Tyson Barrie in Toronto. And they had to pull. Morgan Riley was coming off a 72-point season. They go out and get Tyson Barrie, and they can't get Barrie going. Part of that's Mike Babcock. But then Keefe comes in, takes over, and goes, listen, Morgan, we got to pull you off the PP1 because we got to get Tyson. I know. And I sorry. What I'm trying to get to is I wonder what has changed in this management group that they think this is going to work. And I don't think anything has. I think what's happening here is we got a management group that's grasping at straws.
Oh, they gassed their GM 5 weeks before the draft.
Listen, let's be honest.
No.
The structure that they're within, the structure that they are tethering themselves to. Remember, William Nylander and Mitch Marner's no trade clauses kicked in today as well, so they can't move those guys without their approval.
Good.
Good. And according to multiple sources, the William Nylander number jumped $1 million once Pierre-Luc Dubois' extension was announced.
Oh, good.
And the Leafs don't want to sign under that. And then they apparently couldn't trade him because who's going to sign under that? Look at what's happening with DeBrincat. DeBrincat, no one wants to sign what he wants. And so I'm looking at this situation and I'm going, I think, listen, the Toronto Maple Leafs are still going to be a good team. But what's going to be interesting is that the focus won't be on April anymore next year. The focus is going to be October 15th or whenever their first night is. What is this team? We don't actually know, but it sure seems like they're just trying to, it's like, you know, when you build a sandcastle and then a wave hits it and then you're trying to like repair it. That's how it feels. And it's not coming together so hot anymore. And they've got nothing in the system to take these guys places either.
Sitting here today, it feels like the 23-24 Leafs are worse than the 22-23 Leafs. And as a fan of the team, that's a depressing reality to look at your favorite team.
Here's the bar. The closest recent comparable to this upcoming Leafs team, the way it is right now, and there's lots of summer left, is the 1920 Leafs, and that team was the bane of my existence. So, see you in October.
I think it'll be fascinating. Now, listen, we've heard rumors that the Leafs are in on Domi. The Leafs are pitching Bertuzzi. We still don't know where that's going to stand.
Might trade Nylander still.
I mean, if he approves it. What if
He's got a 10 team.
10 team. Okay.
So Mitch Marner's has a full no move clause that kicked in today, but Mitch is a 10 team no trade.
I at some point, and maybe this isn't the time, maybe a year from now is the time, but the Dubas hangover, a retrospective needs to happen. Because, listen, Brad Treliving's going to take the shit for this. Shanny should take the shit for this. Pridham should take the shit for this. Kyle Dubas should take the shit for this. This is not Brad Treliving's fault.
The car was built for the driver, and they fired the driver.
That's a good F1 reference there. I like that.
I thought so.
I think you're absolutely right.
He probably had an idea of how the summer was going to shake out. We've been saying, you know what, it's time to move on from the core. And the first time he mentioned it, the first time the doubt left his mouth that he would break up the core, it was the last words we heard from him as GM. He was fired. I'm in a dark place with the Toronto Maple Leafs right now.
Well, listen, there's still a playoff team, but
it's also July 1st, and there's a whole summer.
There's a whole summer ahead. It's just not
there's a lot of,
and it's nothing against John Klingberg personally. It's just that they seem to, especially the last couple of years, have been trying to just kind of string something together here to keep this core together. And I don't understand why they didn't move players at their maximum value to try to maybe, this immediate year we won't be as good, but then, we'll have a bunch of young guys and bring it up again with these core guys. If you make it about the core two, Matthews and Marner, or the core three, Matthews, Marner, Tavares, because you got to hold on to Tavares.
You have to.
I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting to see what happens tonight. That is sort of our last free agency video for the day.
Steve had some comments about the Marlies that signed today.
Yes, and I will save that for my video on my channel in our studio, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Regarding the Leafs day that was and is, because Johnny Gaudreau has forever made me terrified of 10 and 11 o'clock signings.